Please be advised, if you have not seen the movie that is about to be reviewed in this video, stop this video right now, go and watch the movie and then come back, because there are going to be massive plot spoilers throughout the course of this video. Welcome one and all to the video vault. How is everybody doing? Trust everyone is staying safe and all of that, considering the current circumstance and everything. So let us dive into the vault. We are going back to my childhood, actually, for something a little bit different. The Scream videos that I did got absolutely amazing responses. A lot of the comments I've heard are just great, love them. These were real good, you know. So I decided, you know what, we'll take a little sneak peek into what makes me, child of the 80s and all that. So one of the huge things when I was growing up was Transformers. Like, they were everywhere in the 80s. I think I got my very first figure in... I can't remember if it was birthday or Christmas in '86. This is about the same time as well the movie came out, which we're doing today. Yes, we're doing the animated movie. We're not doing the live action ones. I might leave them for later on, but we'll see how we go. But I was huge. I shouldn't say was. I'm still huge into Transformers. Like, I have the G1 DVDs, not only the ones, the complete G1 collection that was released in America, but also the Japanese continuations as well. I also, you know, have the Beast Wars DVDs. I have the toys. And no surprise to anybody, I have the soundtrack on vinyl for the '86 movie. And come on, this is no surprise to anybody, really. Yes, Transformers was a huge part of my childhood growing up. I remember seeing the movie for the first time in '87 when it first came in on video, and yeah, I was traumatized with some of the stuff. I'll get into that. But so yes, we open up with an advanced robot planet, you know, scientists and everything, trying to living a peaceful existence, and in comes this massive planet called Unicron, and that just devours everything. Some of them try to escape, some do, some unfortunately do not, and they end up in the digestive tract of Unicron for later, which we will get to as well. And then we get the big opening number. Now, if you have this copy of the VHS, which came out in 2002, there's a few different edits in there. One is with when the title track comes in, which is like an 80s glammed up version of, you know, Autobots, all that sort of stuff. You know, the classic Transformers theme we all know and love. It gets to that. We go down the cyber hole, and then we get introductory narrative. Like, you don't get the opening credits, which if you have like the original or the later re-releases, contains all that. And so it has the full opening. It has, like, you see who's doing what, and they've assembled a massively talented cast for all this. We had, you know, Leonard Nimoy in there as the voice of Galvatron. You had Mr. Unsolved Mysteries, Robert Stack as Ultra Magnus. You had Eric Idle from Monty Python as Wreck-Gar. You had Orson Welles in his last ever performance before he passed away, was the voice of Unicron. So, like, if you've seen Citizen Kane and some of those sorts of some movies like that, you're going to know who Orson Welles is, because he's got a very distinctive, very familiar voice. So as soon as you hear it, you can go, oh yeah, that's that guy. And he being cast as Unicron was absolutely perfect. So we flash forward, we're in the year 2005. So this is basically about 15 years ago now. And the Decepticons have conquered Cybertron. We've got the Autobots that are on two moons. You've got Moonbase 1, Moonbase 2. It's like how we're going to, get out, we're going to take our planet back. We're going to take our home back. We need more energon, so we have to, go to Earth to get this. And we've got Ironhides just sort of protest a little bit, but I want to start busting Deceptichops, and it's like, no, we've got to do this, or else, we're not going to be able to make an assault. And it's like, okay, the clock's ticking on you, Decepticreeps. All their plans, of course, get overheard by Laserbeak, one of Soundwave's very small cassette minions, who takes all the information back, of course, to Megatron, and they take off after the Autobots storm their shuttle. And now, when you're about 6 or 7 years old, and you grow up with the cartoons, you think, oh, everything's they're going to have this fight, and everyone's going to be okay. Oh boy, do you get a reality check very, very quickly. You get a reality check pretty quickly when the main characters in this whole movie actually get killed off in the first half an hour. I am not kidding. It was like the movie was used to promote a new line of Transformers toys, and they were discontinuing all the first two waves, like 84 and 85, and this was sort of, I guess, like a bit of we know you love these characters that you've had around for a little while, you love them all so much. Well, guess what? We're going to kill them off, and we're going to bring in these whole new characters, which you are going to love even more. And boy, did that not work. That did not work at all, because later on in season 3 of G1, because it was such a tremendous backlash especially from the death of Optimus Prime, spoiler alert, that they end up bringing him back in the final 2 episodes of season 3 as the return of Optimus Prime, because everyone had grown so attached to these characters that it just resulted in this huge backlash. Now remember, this is 1986. This is 20 years before Twitter. I think Twitter came out was launched in 2006. So if you can imagine if something like that happened today, it is just, all you'd see is just tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet. Bring back Optimus, bring back Optimus. Why we want Optimus, we love Optimus, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, 1986, so Hasbro and everywhere else just got flooded with complaint letters, because that's how you did it back in those days. So they brought Optimus back. But anyway, so we have Brawn, Ironhide, and Ratchet. They are mercilessly killed off by the Decepticons in a very brutal sequence. And especially when you're a young kid as well, it's like, what do they know? It's like your innocence just gets ripped out from you. So they make their way to Earth. We get introduced to some newer characters. We get introduced to Cup. We get introduced to Hot Rod. We get introduced to Ultra Magnus, Springer, RC, Blur. We still have some. We still have Perceptor. We still have Blaster. There's this huge fight that ensues. Actually, I do need to rewind a little bit, because the plan is from the Decepticons is like, okay, we slip past the Autobot City defenses in their own shuttle and absolutely decimate it. Then we can easily just wipe out, the ones that are left near Cybertron. And that's when we get this last valiant effort, I guess, from Ironhide, just with which leads up to the most such heroic nonsense, and he cops a fusion cannon blast right to the face, and that's it for him too. So now we're on Earth, we're introduced to these newer characters, and it's just constant battle. Here's these, the Autobots are like, oh, we're overpowered, we're outmatched, and they manage to get a distress signal off to Optimus and a few others who come in as supporters back up. And I want to touch on, before I continue, I want to touch on just how good the animation in this movie is. This was animated by the Toei animation studios from Japan. Now, anyone who also grew up in the 80s as well, Toei, as far as animation, especially from Japan, we were pretty well known for, Beast King Go Lion and Dairuga 15, which would become Lion Force and Vehicle Force Voltron. We also, there was also Astro Boy. So the animation that Toei were putting out is absolute pristine, top quality, and it's just and even to this day, some 34 years later, it still holds up. It holds up absolutely beautifully, like it was just done last year. We get the big heroic battle between Optimus and Megatron. Leading up, Optimus is just mowing down Decepticons left and right. He is just being the ultimate definitive leader. Megatron must be stopped no matter the cost. It's just win at all costs. Everyone's must be safe. It's the noble, heroic sort of thing that a lot of people grew up loving about Optimus Prime. The fight is absolutely well done, and animation-wise, it is seamless. It is seamless. If you can find it on YouTube, you will be amazed at just how well and how much detail is in the whole sequence itself. Unfortunately, though, Hot Rod sort of gets involved. Good intentions, trying to help his leader out, and sees, oh, hang on, Megatron's being a little bit deceptive here. Oh, deceptive? Decepticons being deceptive? No, they wouldn't do that. Trying to reach a pistol, and again, good intentions, tries to no you don't, but of course Optimus not going to open fire while his comrade is being held hostage is kind of his downfall a bit, as Megatron just blasts him down. And this is where we have that image of Megatron just standing over Optimus, who's struggling to get up. And it's like, I would have waited an eternity for this. It's over, Prime, sort of thing. It's like, I'm about to, bring in the final blow. And Optimus is just the last noble act of absolute courage and defiance, just never, and swats Megatron away. Which, takes Megatron out of the picture as well, because he's down and out for the count. Optimus, unfortunately, dies. This is, and then it's like, no, it's like, this is the leader, this is the big hero of the Autobots that everybody looks up to, and, now he's gone, and this is what started the whole, bring Optimus back, we want Optimus back, and eventually that happened in season 3. So Optimus passes the matrix of leadership off to Ultra Magnus with the notion of the old prophecy of one day someone will rise from our ranks and use the power of the matrix to light our darkest hour. And yes, and Optimus turns to grey, which is apparently what happens when Transformers are killed. So the Decepticons are retreating, they're heading back towards Cybertron. It's like, well, hang on, we're going to have to lose some, lighten the load if we're actually going to make it, because Astro Train's kind of struggling a bit here. So there's this huge fight. It's like, well, who should it be? Who should stay? Who should go? Like Starscream sort of eggs on that it should be, survival of the fittest. I think it's actually one of the Constructicons that implemented it should be the survival of the fittest. So, and all the Decepticons were badly injured or nearly had it thrown from Astro Train, including Megatron, to the absolute delight of Starscream that he's the one that actually gets to do it. Although apparently it pained him to do this. So they all drift off and cross paths with Unicron. Now Unicron has a bit of a weakness with the Autobots' matrix of leadership, and he transforms Megatron into a more meaner, more maniacal robot called Galvatron, as well as introducing as well some new Decepticons as well, such as Scourge and the Sweeps, and we have Cyclonus and his Armada, who never shows up again. To be honest, it's just Cyclonus, and the other jet is another one of the Sweeps now, apparently. But so this is where, as well, while on Earth, the Autobots are trying to repair Autobot City. We go to Cybertron, and Unicron is attacking the Autobots' moon bases. Now, this movie makes full use of its PG classification. The first moon is gone. It's destroyed by Unicron, eaten up. Jazz and Cliff Jumper try to get away, but they can't. So they're in the digestive tract for later consumption. We get the second moon base, which is Bumblebee and Spike, a grown-up Spike, whose son Daniel is now with RC and Hot Rod and all the others back on Earth. So they try to get away. They've got this great idea of like, oh, you know, we're going to set explosives, and I think I've got ahead of myself a little bit. I've got ahead of myself because I forgot about the demise of Starscream, which kind of happens around about this similar time. So a huge, so I'll quickly jump to that. Huge coronation of the Decepticons. Starscream is now crowned the leader. This is where my tongue stops working. But of course, his coronation is interrupted by Cyclonus and Galvatron. And we get this whole, this is really, really cool. Who disrupts my coronation? Coronation, Starscream. This is bad comedy. It's like, hang on. Starscream sort of recognizes that. It's like, Megatron? Is that you? It's like, hang on. This guy knows what. Is that Megatron? It's like, here's a hint. Galvatron transforms into cannon, gets blast Starscream, and he's taken out by his own pride, I guess, sort of led him to, being disintegrated by Galvatron. Excuse me. So while the moons are being attacked, it all actually, you know what? These all coincide, sort of flow into one another anyway. So it doesn't really matter if I jump around a little bit in this part. But so Spike and Bumblebee are escaping Unicron. They've set some explosives. They think, oh yeah, cool. The explosions go off. It's like, yeah, woohoo! It's like, not even, there's not even a dent. It's like, you just, all of a sudden, it's like, oh shit! What are we going to do now? There's your PG rating in just one little naughty word. I'm going to have to bleep that, I think. But so they get sucked into Unicron as well. Galvatron still has a little bit of that Megatron defiance in him, like, I'm not going to bow to you sort of thing. But eventually they go to Earth. They attack the Autobots down there, who manage to get into two shuttles and escape. Thinking they're, safe for the time being. It's like, we're going to find out what happened. We got to get to Cybertron. They get attacked by the Decepticons. Cup, Hot Rod, and the Dinobots get shot down over what we learn in the first part of season 3 in the 5 Faces of Doom arc of a planet called Quintessa. And Ultra Magnus, RC, and Springer under ship still continues to be under attack, and they have to split part of the ship from the other part. That doesn't even make sense. They have to separate the ship. One part gets blown up, and the Decepticons are thinking, yep, cool, we've done it. We've completed our mission. Wrong. Galvatron gets called back and tormented by Unicron. Ultra Magnus and everyone else make their way to the Junkion planet, where we have, you know, the Junkions led by Rekgar, and I don't know how it is, like, you consider space to be a wide, vast area, but somehow Unicron just manages to know where they are for some reason. So when Galvatron gets called back, thinking, you know, he's destroyed the Matrix and everything, it's like, no, you're a fool. Ultra Magnus is still on this planet. It's like, okay, we'll go there. While that is going on, we have Cup and Hot Rod, who are stranded on Quintessa, separated from the Dinobots. They are attacked by, they're not Sharkticons, but I guess you call Gator. I'm calling them Gatorcons because they look like Crococons, because they look like giant crocodiles. And they get taken towards the Quintessons. Before the Quintessons, who are like sort of like judge, jury, and execution. It doesn't matter if you're guilty or innocent, you're executed by Sharkticon. And this is, so while that is all going on, this is when the Decepticons show up on the planet of Junk, destroy what's left of the Autobot shuttle. They try to fight back. Ultra Magnus sort of nobly tries to gets everybody to safety, and it's like, oh, I'm going to unleash the power of the Matrix and that'll, you know, get us out of this. But unfortunately, it's not quite the darkest hour, and Ultra Magnus gets taken out by the sweeps and loses the Matrix to Galvatron, who then boasts proudly, with this, I shall make you my slave. And a long way, many light years, parsecs, whatever sort of distance you want to use for space, Unicron somehow hears this and is infuriated. Cutting back now to Quintessa. Again, we get a little bit of exposition from Krenix, who's the survivor of the very first of the opening planet that's attacked and destroyed by Unicron, as to what is happening and what Unicron is. He is devoured by the Sharkticons. We then get Cup and Hot Rod, who are then put in the same situations, like you're innocent, you're getting fed to the Sharkticons. But this is where they sort of decide, we're fighting our way out of this. So they have like a little demolition derby type thing, and the Dinobots show up with little Wheelie, who is by far the most annoying character, second only to little Daniel, actually. So that's probably why those two got along in the cartoon series so well, because they were just so annoying as hell. Like, Wheelie, for some reason, would always just speak in rhyme. And Daniel was just, always getting himself in some sort of trouble. But that's neither here nor there. This is, a near 40-year-old man going on a rant of something that came out 34 years ago. I gotta stop doing that, really. I do. So anyway, they managed to escape the Quintessons. They find a ship and somehow know to go to the Junk planet. Okay. Don't know why. Then we have, after a brief battle between the Junkions and the Autobots, it's like, hey, let's, unite, let's team up and take down Unicron. And the old universal greeting gets used for a second time of Ba Weep Grana Weep Ninibon. And so we've got the Junkions and the Autobots, they're all working together. They take off towards Cybertron to have the final confrontation with Unicron. Galvatron tries to threaten Unicron with the Matrix, but of course, because it's the Autobot Matrix, it ain't going to do jack. So Unicron's just gone, you know what, enough's enough. I'm not taking this BS anymore. He, lo and behold, is a gigantic transformer all along. This thing that has an alt mode the size of a planet is this huge robot and just starts to destroy Cybertron. So we get sort of a little bit, we sort of actually do get the Autobots and Decepticons kind of teaming up a little bit to try to take down Unicron. Hot Rod, Cup, RC, Spike, not Spike, Daniel and the Dinobots, they crash through into Unicron, who is deciding, you know what, I'm lacking some Galvatron in my diet, so eats him up. And they get separated. Hot Rod ends up going off on his own and has a bit of a showdown with Galvatron. More on that a little bit later. So we're going to jump over to RC, Cup, Springer, Ultra Magnus. They're fighting these claw things that come out of Unicron and somehow rupture a filtration pipe or whatever. They get swept away, again separated, and Daniel stumbles across the great big acid vat, where we see robots from devoured planets that have been captured are just being dropped and melted down into scrap. And we see Spike, we see Bumblebee, Jazz, Cliffjumper, they're all headed towards this acid vat. Daniel eventually figures out how to blast the cover down before, you know, his dad and these Autobots meet their demise. And you would think that, oh yay, I did it, you know, I saved these people. I've never seen anyone so bummed out in my whole life. It's like, oh, yay, I saved my dad. Yay, I'm so bummed. What the hell? I've never seen anyone look so bummed in anything. Like, it's like, yeah, I did it. Okay. Everyone else regroups. We have the showdown between Hot Rod and Galvatron, who obviously still has some memories of Megatron, because we hear this, puny Autobot, you lack even Prime's courage. So like Megatron's memories are still there with Galvatron. We end up having a massive showdown. Hot Rod claims the Matrix, becomes Rodimus Prime, and defeats Galvatron in 30 seconds. Literally just, they scuffle, he just picks him up and throws him out of, somehow through Unicron's shell and into space. Then unleashes the Matrix, which is now glowing. It's like, yes, okay, this is one of our darkest hours. And that destroys Unicron. So we get the final shot of the Autobots celebrating. It's like, let this mark the end of the Cybertronian Wars. Till all are one. There's huge cheering, and we cut we fade out, zoom out, to the planet Cybertron, and we see Unicron's head floating in orbit, and then that's where the music starts up again. Now, again, this is a tale of two versions, because if you have the reissue version, like what this one is, there is voiceover narration at the very, very end, saying the Autobots have won and the greatest Autobot of them all, Optimus Prime, will return. Then the music kicks in. If you've got the original VHS or the DVD or anniversary Blu-rays, you're not going to have that. Because if you're showing someone who's never seen the cartoon series before, if you're showing them this version, and it's like, whoa, whoops, I just nearly knocked over the camera. Oh dear. It's like, oh, he comes back, yay! It sort of takes away from the excitement of when the Return of Optimus Prime episodes take place. They actually do it twice as well, because in G1, Season 3, I'm not sure if it is in this version, but the original DVD release they had on I think it's Dark Rising, where they're fleeing the Decepticons and come to the mausoleum, and there's a reanimated Prime. They do the same thing as well. It's like, tune in whenever for the return of Optimus Prime. So it kind of takes away any sort of hype and excitement a little bit. I'm glad they didn't do that on the 35th anniversary Blu-ray, 30th anniversary Blu-ray. Again, this is where my tongue stops working. 30th anniversary Blu-ray release. I'm glad they didn't do that, because it just would have taken away from, say, you're showing, your son or whatever, like the movie, and then you go into the cartoons. Like, they already know what's going to happen. Where when they haven't done that, it's like there's that huge pop you just mark out completely when it's like, Optimus is back, yay! And that's pretty much it. It's one of my favorites. Like, I'm a sad case of it, and the soundtrack I actually want to talk on really, really quick. I actually didn't realize this until later on after I bought it. It's got the big Autobot symbol, but if you actually look, the outlining is actually the chest of Optimus Prime, and on the back is the Matrix. But it's a very 1980s soundtrack. We've got glam metal on there. We've got Stan Bush, who is an equivalent of Kenny Loggins over everything in the 80s. There's even Weird Al Yankovic on there. So it's definitely one I strongly recommend, especially if you're like me or my buddy from Grey Wolf, Ned. We grew up with this stuff, so this is pure nostalgia for us. We love this stuff, and especially like if you've got kids and you want to introduce to them what you had when you were growing up. Again, if you're from my generation, this is perfect, because it's something like not only introducing your kids to something that's absolutely fantastic and out there, but you're also reliving some of your fondest memories from your childhood as well. Is it going to be for everyone? Probably not. As some people are going to say, oh, I prefer the Michael Bay movies to these. They probably are. More power to them. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion. We're not always going to agree on everything. Some people like chocolate. Some people like vanilla. It's just the way it goes. But anyway, that wraps up this video vault. I hope you've all had a bunch of fun. A huge shout out to Ned and John at Grey Wolf Entertainment. They were talking about it on one of their latest podcasts for the Pack Chat, and there's a lot of hype around there. I'm glad I didn't sort of burp my way through this video, because the last one, I think it was Scream 4. For some reason, I had some really bad reflux or indigestion. So that was like constant, so that was horrible. But yeah, this was a fun movie to review. It was always just fun to go back and just revisit my childhood, because, as I said, I'm nearly 40. Some people might say it's sad that, I still watch these to this day. Me, I don't care. I go by the words of Corey Taylor and dig what I dig. I'm not going to take any fool's madness. Do I like to go back and relive some of the happier parts of my childhood? Absolutely. Do I, collect the vinyl records? Do I collect the toys? Yes, I do, because it's just one of those parts of my childhood I just refuse to let go of. Anyway, thank you so much. I will see you next time around. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. If you like it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, you hit that subscribe, and you ding that notification cowbell. For any other reviews you want to look at, I will put links up here, and maybe one there. Also, the links to my socials will be down in the description box below, and I shall see you all next time.